It's me, Christy, with AppSumo, and we are back at it today with another webinar. Thank you for hanging out with us on this Tuesday morning or afternoon, depending where you are. Today, I am happily joined by Alina and Sean from Fiskl, which is a mobile-first accounting software that's on AppSumo right now for $49, which is just a crazy, insane price. So you'll definitely want to check it out. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Christy.
Yay, awesome. So if you've never seen one of our webinars before, here's how it's going to work. Right now, you're seeing myself and Alina and Sean, but in a minute, I'm going to kick it over to those two, and they are going to take you through an in-depth demo of Fiskl. So if you've already purchased it, you'll get to know it even more, and if you're on the fence about buying it, I'm sure that you will want to make that purchase after seeing the demo. We also have Monica from Fiskl, who's going to be manning the chat box. So if at any point in this webinar you have a question, Monica will be there to answer it for you. And then at the end of the webinar, I'm going to pop back on and ask some of the more popular questions just to make sure that you all have heard the answers from the team at Fiskl themselves. In case you're wondering, yes, there will be a replay. So for those of you who can't hang around until the end, there will be a replay of this webinar so you can enjoy it at your own leisure. So without further ado, the first thing I want to ask you guys before I turn my camera off is, why did you start Fiskl?
Aha, good question. So both Sean and I were in consultancy jobs about 4 years ago. Sean was a software architect for HSBC, one of the largest banks in the world, doing risk engines and architecture. So he knows how to do large database management, and he can tell you way too much about that. He's also a security and encryption aficionado. And I come from the mobile space. So we developed Fiskl as a way to manage our own business expenses. And we were looking for a solution that was easy without, going in depth into huge accounting software like Xero and QuickBooks. And we just couldn't be bothered. And our accountant anyway couldn't use Xero because he had Sage. And it was all, a nightmare. And I wanted to do it from mobile, sitting in a cafe somewhere and just invoice my clients and see the numbers rolling in, basically. Yes. And we didn't have anything like that, and we just said, let's go ahead and develop it. Awesome. So that's how Fiskl came about. And if you're wondering about the name, which nobody asks us about, I know it rhymes with Fiskl, but it actually comes from Nordic languages where Fisk and Fiskl is quick like a fish. So we're looking for something quick and swift to do your invoices. But it rhymes with Fiskl as well. So we found the domain name, and that was it.
That's amazing. I just assumed that it was from being fiscally responsible, but that
it didn't come about that way. It kind of gelled together. But Sean is originally Dutch, and the northern languages are his thing, so it all came together.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off my camera, and I think these guys are too, and we're going to get right into the demo. So guys, take it away.
Thank you, Christy. Right, so let's go to the Fiskl mobile app. So what you're seeing on the screen is our iOS app. Android looks exactly the same. And I'm going to walk you a little bit through the main features of Fiskl and also one of the core applications of Fiskl, which is invoicing. So as I've mentioned before, we wanted to make things easy for people who wanted to use Fiskl for mobile. And Fiskl is used across 23 different industries. We currently have users in 67 countries, and we're getting a lot of feedback, and we're adding a lot to the product, which is one thing that has been fantastic also from engaging the AppSumo community, because we get feedback from a hugely digital community that has incredible needs in terms of integrations and so on, and a great level of sophistication. So this product will change immensely over the next 6 months as well. So coming to the product, Fiskl is about mobile invoicing at its core, and it's about doing things on the go and having a view of your day-to-day finances. Because if you only do your finances once a week or once a month, you don't know where you stand in real time with your cash flow, with your expenses, and so on and so on. And it's also nice to look at your revenue line. So this is giving you a day-to-day way to manage your finances, especially on mobile, when you might not go around with a laptop every day. It depends on what your business is. If you're a freelancer and work from home, you might use the desktop. If you're let's say a plumber, a builder, which we have a lot of, if you're a marketer who works on client location, a photographer, you name it, you will do it from your phone because you're carrying a lot of stuff with you. So this is the range of use cases that we see for Fiskl. Now, what's in Fiskl? In Fiskl, we have a few functionalities which are core to day-to-day financial management of a business. We have invoices, we have expenses, we have time tracking, we have mileage tracking, we have products and services, so you have your own products and service list with the associated taxes. We have calendar and tasks, we have clients. We've redesigned the quotes completely based on very good feedback from our previous version of the platform. This is our second major iteration. We're doing the same with expense reports. People have asked us for much more layered expense reports, and we've also created a Fiscal Ambassador program, which has been very popular with the AppSumo community. Not only that, one of the things you can also do in Fiskl is manage users in a business. So Fiskl is targeted for anywhere from freelancers to businesses of up to 10 users. And you can manage all your users with rights-based management. So you can create admins and billing users and basic users. So it gives you a variety of control over the business. Of course, you can control your company settings as well. You can upload a company logo. You can set your currency, your industry, your address, all of your accounting information for tax processing and year-end processing and so on, payment info notes, payment terms. So in the company settings, you can actually all do it from mobile. Now, if you're a brand new user coming to Fiskl, you don't need to bother with much of that. If you want to, most people who come into Fiskl actually, especially when they trial it, they tend to do an invoice. So what I'd like to do is take you through the invoice flow, which is core to the product. So as you can see, you can add a new invoice to the product. And in the invoice flow, you might not have set up your company, you haven't numbered your invoices. You can basically go to the top button and create your own numbering for the invoice. So let's say ACVF 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can start there. I can name my invoice and I can actually put all the information for the company from here. Yeah, so if you created a test account and your company is test, you can immediately change it from this invoice and make it a real invoice. So in this area, you can manage your company information. You can add a client. Now with some what I found annoying with some software, you have to go out of the invoice, go add a client, then come back to the invoice, restart the invoice, remember where you left off and so on. With Fiskl, you don't need to do that. With Fiskl, you can basically go import client from contacts. I can import this contact, and basically it's now added to my invoice. It never stops me from finishing my invoice, which is the core, my key goal, basically. Now, if I've been disciplined and I've tracked some items for this client, I can attach some existing items, so I can see, any items related to this client. This is a test account, so there are some strange names in here. Some of you have shared this account. I can attach them to the invoice, and you can see here it's showing me everything that's been attached. I can also add from the same list, from my existing list of products and services, whatever products I need to, or service that I need to attach here. I can see your questions coming in directly to my phone from the live chat on the website. So I'm sorry, we can't do the live chat on the website because our support team in London here are off for the day, but Monica is answering on the AppSumo webinar. So if you want to ask your questions, please go to the AppSumo webinar chat. You can add your products and services, or you can add a brand new item. So from here, I can decide to add a product or service. I can add an expense, mileage, and time. So any of these categories form the base of an invoice. So I want to add a new product. I can go Mac Pro, let's say, And I can do a quantity for this invoice. The quantity needs to be 20 max. If there is a tax attached, and I know a lot of you have asked about GST, and that's coming. We'll cover that in the questions. And I can add a description. I can take a picture. So let's see, I take a picture of the Mac. That's the webinar screen. And basically that's my product, and I can see where I need to set the price. You're right, Sean, thank you very much. So what's a Mac nowadays? I don't even, it's probably cheaper than that. And basically I can see my Mac Pro here with the associated tax, and it's all ready to go. I can also attach a mileage, yeah, from scratch. I can either do it with Google Maps, which we support for tracking the distance, or I can skip that screen. Let's say I can do the current location, which is London, and then I want to go to Leeds in not USA, in Alabama, but in UK for now, because I don't think we do across the ocean. So I can continue, and then it's giving me the total distance, the details, and basically I just save it and attach it to the invoice. I give it a name. This was a trip to the client, because the client will need to know what they're being billed for. So that mileage has been attached, and of course you can attach a brand new time item, or if you track the time item, and you can also attach an expense via scanning, and you can scan it directly from here. So basically, in terms of whatever you're adding to an expense, and of course, the scanning is never perfect when I need it to be. I can attach a business entertainment expense, let's say, and then it's all attached to the invoice. So now we have an invoice. Let's say I have a client, I'm in USA, but I have a client in Europe. I need to bill them in euros. So I can change the invoice currency to euros, and then I can give them a discount, or if you're doing projects where you need to take a deposit or an upfront payment, you can attach the deposit here, so it gives you that flexibility. Then I can save my invoice, and from here preview it and send it directly to the client. So I can zoom in, make sure that everything is correct, and now I can just send it to the client with a nice message, dear client. So I was just showing that I can customize the message, and please pay me now. Wink, wink. Right. So that's that. And then I'm going to email it to a client. Though this is one of my financial consultants, so he would be shocked if I send him this invoice. I'm going to send it to myself just for demo purposes, and then we are done. And you will note that we'll get a notification which shows that the invoice has been delivered, and basically we know that it has reached the client, which is in this case myself. So this is Fiskl at its core. From Fiskl, you can also track your day. So you can look at your tasks for today, just in this context. So if you're having a coffee in the morning, you can just go, okay, what's in for today and what do I have next week? Currently, I don't have anything upcoming, but I can add maybe a new task for today. Pay contractor. And then basically, this is just managing my day. I can also look at all my other tasks. So I can access the full calendar and see what do I have today, what do I have, if anything, in the future. And I can also view past tasks that have been completed. And of course, I can create new ones directly from here. So I can create a task name easily. The other thing that you can do is manage your client list. So, for example, I have a client here who has a lot of overdue invoices. You can see at the top the status for this client of the invoices. One of the core issues is chasing overdue payments from clients. So you need to know which clients basically owe you quite a bit of money. And that's quite a useful graph, and we're going to add much more granularity to that in the future. And the other area is basically the home screen. So on the home screen, you can see what's the high-level status of your business, along with some funky quotes from Confucius and some others. You can see your total sales, and you can look month by month. So you can see where you stack up. This is a cumulative graph. You can, of course, quickly review your day from here. Now, this is not Facebook, so we're not on it like every couple of hours. So you need to remember where you left off. You know, what did you process last? An invoice, an expense, a mileage. This will give you a quick reminder. You can see your overdue invoices. So if you have overdue or outstanding, you may choose to send a reminder to the client. So currently you can swipe left and send a reminder, or you can open it, write a message, and send a reminder. And some of you have suggested to do different messages, custom messages for these. So we're definitely adding these in the future, so you can quickly remind your clients about payments. And of course, you can access all the other invoices. You can see your gross profit here. You can see where you stack up in terms of revenue and expenses for the business. So are you positive or negative? A lot of people have fed back that they love looking at these graphs. They kept adding invoices, even future invoices from some clients. So they were wondering why the future invoices were not showing up. And we found some interesting use cases. You can see your top expenses. So you know where you're overspending potentially. And very importantly, upcoming invoices, which for a lot of people who work freelancing and any small business, in effect, if you have to cover your payments for the next few weeks, you need to know where you stack up in terms of cash flow. So if you don't have much coming in, then you'll need to quickly review your open invoices and send them, or send reminders to your clients. So that's Fiskl in a nutshell. We have some user preferences that you can set. For example, you can set mileage, travel unit, billing rate, billing unit. We do support metric as well. So
then I think we should demonstrate. So you showed how to do it from within an invoice. So what happens when you tackle it from within a time item, for example?
Yes, so very good, a good point. So one of the customer feedbacks that we've had is that no matter where they are, they were wanting to be able to create an invoice. So if they had just finished a time tracking, they wanted to attach it directly to an invoice. So basically what we've done, you can go to any item, or if you've just finished an item, you can add it to an existing or a new invoice directly from here. So let's say I want to add this time item to an invoice. I can see which one is open here, bolded. It's the second one in the list. I simply open it, it's been added, and I save it. And now I can go ahead and send it as well. So that's one of the ways you can also create invoices. You can go to any items basically that you've tracked, and you can see here the expense list and mileage list as well. You can have open or completed mileage. There is quite a bit of sophistication. You can see which ones in the list here, for example, have been billed. The ones that haven't been billed, we can attach them to an invoice. So let's say I want to add it to the same existing invoice, and I've saved it, and it's done. So no matter where you find yourself in the product, you can still attach it to an invoice. And there's another thing that I would like to mention that's quite important. A lot of business owners want to have their staff entering items into Fiskl. So generally, what we found, if you are using a big accounting system, it's very difficult. You might learn as a business owner to use the accounting system, but generally you don't want to extend it to your employees, and some of them you can't be trained. Some of them, they may have no affinity for accounting. So this system has been proven quite useful for this type of usage. We've gotten a lot of feedback in terms of how people wanted their employees to manage within Fiskl. So we've set basically feature rights in Fiskl for any person you want to add to your Fiskl account. You can have basic users, which basically can enter expenses, time, mileage, and any item they track in effect. You can have a billing user. So for example, let's say you're in construction, which is not a very digital thing to do, but yet a lot of construction people about. So you want to have your team being able to send quotes and invoicing. So you assign them billing user rights. You trust them to quote to your client, and hence they can provide a quote on the spot from their mobile and even an invoice. Or maybe you have a right-hand person who can help you do the accounting, in which case you might give them admin rights. This can even be your accountant. So we have a lot of self-employed freelancers who basically do this. They add their accountant to Fiskl, and then the accountant processes their taxes regularly, and then their year-end accounts. You can also deactivate an employee if need be, or if you've added them erroneously. And basically that lets you manage very granularly what your team is doing in Fiskl. Now, every user, unless it's an admin, can only see their own tasks and their own invoices, which is very important because a lot of the business owners didn't want to share their full business overview with the entire team. Some of them said, for example, we don't want to know this one employee to know what rate we're billing them at to a client. So it can cause quite a bit of discord. And that was one of the reasons they didn't want to extend any tool to the team. So quite a few use cases in a variety of industries. I know a lot of you are in the digital space, but there are a lot of use cases out there that we've been trying to cover. So that's it. Sean, do you want to suggest anything that I might have missed in the product?
No, I think on mobile we've covered it. We have the dashboard. I don't know if you want to cover the dashboard.
Go briefly to the Fiscal Dashboard. So you can see here on the screen our Fiscal Dashboard. It's basically a like-for-like match of mobile. So you have options for invoices, expenses, time, mileage, products and services, everything. You can see your day, the same graphs, and the same basically the same functionalities, which are invoices, expenses, time, mileage, and products and services, evidently. And of course, you can add here in the exact same way for each item. So exactly the same layout. It's not gonna take much more learning than that between the two products. It's basically a complete match. So I think that's it from the demo perspective of the key features. And I think we might, as Monica is, I see a lot of questions coming through. Maybe we can go directly to the questions.
Yes, so I have a lot of questions for you. Monica did do a great job answering most of them in the chat box, but I saw a lot of recurring questions that I thought maybe you might just want to address. So there were a lot of questions about payment integrations. So I know it seems Monica answered that you have some on the roadmap. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the payment integrations.
So we have Stripe coming up in 3 weeks, Sean?
Yeah, so we partially developed Stripe, so we're due to release in 3 weeks. And that will be our first payment integration, which will be a card payment integration. We were going to follow that directly with PayPal integration, but there's been so much feedback on the invoice localization. So if you're in the USA and you need to send an invoice to Canada, or in French, that's basically being bumped up to our highest priority. So we'll complete the Stripe integration, which will be due in 3 weeks. Then we'll do the localization of invoices, and then we'll address the PayPal integration.
And followed by starting with bank integrations as well, and
recurring payments,
and full language localization. So there's quite a bit on our roadmap, and it's not just driven by the feedback from the AppSumo community, but the great news is that it's overlapping with the current feedback from our current users. So a lot of it is converging basically. So what the questions from the AppSumo community have allowed us to do is basically converge two roadmaps and bump up the priorities across the entire user community.
Yeah, good. Now you have a public roadmap, right? Maybe you could let them know where they can see that roadmap.
Yes, so it's https://fiscal.com/roadmap. We put it up last week as an emergency roadmap because of the flood from the AppSumo community. And I know that submitting ideas didn't work. Our developer worked basically until 2 o'clock at night to get the submission of the ideas ready, but it's all working now, and we've had ideas flooding in. I mean, we get an email every time there is an idea and it's coming. We have about 3 a minute.
Wow.
So, yes, and ambassador submissions as well. So the community has been really engaged, and we really appreciated this feedback, because for us, it's been amazing to see how people use the product and what they're missing and what they need to connect it with. We've had requests, if you can do Trello functionality plus clients plus this, basically, I'm selling it to everybody I know. And such an engaged community in terms of feedback. We've really loved it. It's been brutal, but we really loved it. We've been up basically around the clock, because we've had so many customers from India, from Australia, from New Zealand. I think half of Australia wants to change to Fiskl. I think it's their financial year end, so they must be looking for a new product. Canada and so on. So that's been really interesting for us.
Yeah, like I said, Sumolings are very vocal. They are digital savvy and they know what they like. So you will get.
We love them for that. We love them for that, because it's the kind of early adopter, we believe in you kind of tribe. We're gonna give you feedback and we'll tell you exactly how to do it. People have sent us videos of how they would like things to be done.
Wow.
They've sent gifts. Yeah, it's been amazing. We absolutely loved it. I mean, I was high on feedback.
That's good. That's a good kind of high, I think. So I heard you say something about bank integrations, but we had a couple questions about importing and exporting data. Is that available at this time?
So Sean, do you want to tackle, because that's quite a question. It depends which type of data is being imported, and exporting data as well.
Yeah, so we don't do any importing data at the moment. There's a number of formats, and we weren't sure which one to tackle first. And probably QuickBooks looks like the first one to tackle. As far as exporting data, we will provide exporting function. We don't have it right now. It is on our roadmap. And for importing, we still need to do a bit more analysis to decide. The problem is there's so many systems. Everybody wants to import in so many different ways. Our model has followed the Xero model, and so it would be easier to import, export with Xero. But we have to gauge which system is the best to start off with. But we will be providing exporting before importing.
And for the ones of you that have asked about importing via Excel sheets and so on, and importing your client list, the client list would be the easiest to import via normal, regular file format, which is like a generic file format, followed most likely by expenses, which I'm sure Sean can work some magic in terms of matching categories. And the third one, and the most complicated, because invoices differ so much between systems, is entering your invoice. So we're working through those to see what we can help you transition into Fiskl, aside from, moving from one accounting system to Fiskl.
Okay. So one of the Sumolings wants to know, if they purchase this deal, will they get all of the upgraded feature integrations that you guys are rolling out over the next months and years?
Yes, so we have the Prime plan on Fiskl. Generally, it's limited to 10 users. We've extended it to unlimited users. I don't know how Sean did that overnight on the platform. So he's very, very good at his job. And we will add all integrations and all future features. We're not, we got this question a lot. We're not here to upsell you. We have large contracts coming up with launches in multiple countries. So we're going to have, we have revenue, and we're going to have much more revenue coming in to support the development. So we don't need to upsell you. This is what it is. And we traded this great AppSumo deal with you in exchange for feedback and basically exposure in a community. So it's good enough for us.
Yeah, that's a win-win situation.
It is, indeed.
And there is no other higher plan, and there's no plans to introduce any higher plan. This is it. This is the prime plan, and never to be repeated. And it's there's no more upsell. There's no more features that won't be in this. This is the full Monty.
And just technically speaking, it would be really difficult to upsell you guys anyway, because we'd have to create a special cohort in the system, and we have so much going on in terms of development, we can't be bothered even with that, so it's not even feasible.
So what I'm hearing you say is that this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal, right? So everyone should jump on this right now.
Yes, absolutely, and the reason is because we are going into several continents, several countries. We are already in 67, but we're going with you're going to see some big partnership announcements, and then probably we'll never be here again. So
that's exciting. So for those of you who are on the fence about purchasing Fiskl, then this should give you a lot of incentive to jump on board right now while it's still available on AppSumo. All right, so I think, like I said, Monica's done a great job in the chat answering some of the questions, and those were the most popular. So for now, we're going to let you go. We're going to end this webinar. For those of you watching, I want you to know that I will be back on next Tuesday, July 3rd, with Feedier. We do this every week where we have webinars with our software founders. And so thank you guys for hanging out with us and to show this demo of Fiskl. Like I said, it is so robust. And as you mentioned, it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. So y'all need to get on it, okay? And for those of you who are still here,
we're available on live chat after this, so hit us up.
Good. Yeah. So and the website is fiskl.com, right? Fiskl.com.
Correct.
Awesome. So again, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.